The film was shot at the Serra da Canastra in Minas Gerais, Brazil. The reason why we shot it there is because one of my producers, Tuba, he's a dirt biker out there. So that's how we found it. But we did obviously extensive scouting, and we managed to go to places that even he didn't know.
Questions from the audience? This one here, thank you. The question is related to the sound in the movie and how engaging it is and how important it is for the perception of the audience.
Well, Motorrad was always thought of by all of us as a very sensorial film. It's about how you feel the character's experiences, especially Hugo's experiences and his journey through the movie. And to convey that, sound was always thought of as a primary element. And we did quite a lot of research about how we would score and do the follies and do the mix. And it was a very, this is my 8th feature, and I've done, actually all of my other features were had bigger budgets than this one. But this was the one that we spent the longest time in the final mix. The final mix itself took, usually it's about I don't know, 10 days. This was 3 weeks of final mix, and it was painstaking, but I think it paid off.
One more thing.
As a director, what was your motivation through the journey of the story?
Well, we wanted to have fun telling the story. We wanted people to have fun watching it. We wanted people to be scared. I guess those were the primary motivations. But it's really a coming-of-age story, and a lot of my other movies are coming-of-age stories also. And this one, after Tuba approached me with the core story, and I started working with himself and Baião and Danilo Beirut, who created the characters. After we worked together for a while, I realized that we were telling a story very, very similar to my first movie, The Middle of the World, which is about a family riding bikes from the northeast of Brazil all the way to Rio looking for a job. In that case, the terrors are very different. They're hunger, they're poverty, and here the terrors are very palpable. It's basically you take away the sociology of it and you keep the psychology of it. I guess that's what drove me to tell this story. And I mean, there was a physical element, a necessity that we had to tell this story the way it was told. It was grueling to shoot this movie, and I think it kind of had to be.
Thank you. Go ahead.
This is the first genre film we did selecting from Brazil. Were there other Brazilian genre films that you do for inspiration, or did other Brazilian genre, like horror or fantasy?
Yeah, it is. It is an underappreciated genre. Genre is an underappreciated genre in Brazil, and I mean, but it's not. It's not at all the first genre movie to be made down there. We have quite a tradition, but it's always been sort of kept in its own little box, sort of hidden away for the very aficionados to appreciate. The fact that we made it not only into TIFF but into this section of TIFF, I think will help not only its Motorrad's career in Brazil and hopefully worldwide, but it will also show that it is possible in Brazil to make genre movies that will appeal to, hopefully will appeal to a wider audience.
The question is related to the sort of allegory or metaphor that underlies in the story. And you mean exactly something, or just that atmosphere? Related to the mark, yeah.
It's like when they asked Kubrick about what stuff meant in The Shining. He said it's a ghost movie. I don't know, but really, I mean, of course, we mean stuff, don't we, Bio? I mean, no, not really. Don't tell them. It's got to do with solitude, growing up, facing your own monsters. That's all I'll say.
I'm interested in the process of the writing and adapting to the screen, or writing from scratch. How was the process of coming up with this script in particular?
The core story was developed by LG Tribaldini, one of my producers, and he approached me about like 2 years ago, more or less, with a story, and he asked me if I'd be interested in directing it, and I said, "Where's the contract? Where do I sign?" And we started working from there. I mean, what we had was a very simple story based on, that he developed himself. Then he started working with Bayonne. That became a treatment that where Danilo B. Ruth, who's this comic book designer who works for Marvel out of Brazil. He actually is the guy who designs a lot of Deadpool and Ghost Rider and other characters, plus a bunch of characters of his own, which are really, really cool, and which will become movies that we're going to make. He designed the characters that would fit that story. That's where I came back into the process, and I worked a lot, a real lot, for about maybe a year. We worked together, the four of us, going back and forth, creating this story and making it, hopefully giving it some depth, like pushing the buttons that would make people ask the question that you asked, hopefully. And we only really finished the script after all of us made a trip to Serra da Canastra, which is very far away from Rio. It's like sort of halfway between Rio and Brasilia. And to get to these places we shot at, we would have to drive like for 2 hours on 4x4s. And then some of them we would have to go like literally like down like caves and into the waterfall. Only after we did that, we locked the script. And so it was a very long process. It had a lot to do with what we found, what nature gave us, and how it inspired us also.
What do you think were the biggest challenges of shooting in that particular region? It looks very arid, like far away, sort of remote.
It was like I said, it was grueling. It was a very, very hard process. We had to deal with like up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit during the day, very, very like close to freezing at night. The crew was very small and very devoted to the project, of course. It was physically very, very challenging to shoot this movie. I mean, I've done all kinds of different movies. I've shot in many different places, but this was probably the most challenging movie I ever made, especially because considering we shot it over only 4 weeks. So it was quite a feat.
And it's a very young cast. Some of them I had never seen on screen. I recognize maybe a couple of faces of girls, probably from 1 or 2 telenovelas, because they're huge. But not the young protagonists, neither of the boys. How did you find them?
When we started developing the project, we had this premise that we wouldn't use well-known actors because we wanted new faces for this movie. Also, the crowd that goes to see this kind of movie in Brazil, I guess all over the world, but especially in Brazil, doesn't really want to see the same faces they see in the telenovelas all the time. But of course, once the movie got ready, half of them were already on the telenovelas. So I mean, we tried.
Maybe I can take a final question from the audience. There isn't one. Where? Oh, I'm sorry, but we have the lighter. You look back there. Okay, thank you.
What was the significance of the main female character? She was sinister. Where was she named?
Sinister? I don't know. I think she's the driving force in the movie, like women are the driving force in the world. Really.
I mean, where was she actually taking the main character? Like, what was?
Well, I'm not answering that question.
That's for you to make your own decision about it. Thank you so much for staying here. For
Thank
coming.
you.
Thank you.
Tell everybody about Motorrad, please.
Thank you, Vicente Amorim.
Obrigado. And obrigado, Tuba, Baião, and André.